You're alone in your house at night when you hear a distinct thud from the floor below. The air is still, the street is quiet, and your brain instantly shifts into high alert. This is a biological vacuum. Lacking any visual data for the sound, your psychology automatically populates that void with predictable, supernatural threats. You project the image of a ghost or a spirit because those entities have rules we understand. The terror changes when you flip the light switch and find a physical reality that defies immediate explanation. You see a living human being standing in your hallway, and the reason for their presence is a total blank. This is the core of curious horror. It is the specific dread of being trapped with a stranger whose motives remain entirely opaque. You are forced to reconcile the normalcy of a human face with the impossibility of the situation. These threats walk through the front door, wrapped in behavior that violates every social contract. Consider the experience of 4 college students renting an old hillside house. They lived with what they assumed was a poltergeist, experiencing flickering lights and missing keys, and doors that slammed shut when no one else was home. The activity escalated into heavy dragging sounds across the floorboards. One roommate even watched a figure step out of the shower and walk into another room, only to find the house empty when he went to investigate. The mystery collapsed the night they smelled gas. Firefighters were forced to break into the landlord's restricted basement, snapping the lock off a heavy door that had always been off limits. They found a metallic embalming table sitting in the center of the room, surrounded by shelves of canned food and medical cylinders. Their landlord, a night shift hospital worker, had been using a secret entrance to access the house. The ghostly footsteps and dragging sounds were the physical movements of a man operating a makeshift morgue directly beneath their bedrooms. The realization that a human was silently coexisting with them in the dark is far more difficult to process than a simple haunting. Other times, the brain interprets a human crisis as a monster. A 9-year-old boy, alone for the hour between school and his mother's return, finds a man standing on his patio. The man screeches like a cat while eating cigarette butts from an ashtray. When the police arrive, he attacks with enough force to knock an officer unconscious. He appears to be a creature devoid of human reason. The reality was a human tragedy. The man had severe autism and had escaped a care facility 5 kilometers away. He used to live in that house, and he had returned to find the mother he had lost years before. 16 years later, the boy, now an adult living in the same house, finds the man on his patio again. This time, he recognizes the graying hair and the high-pitched sounds not as a threat, but as a person lost in time. He invites the man inside to watch cartoons. They now meet every Sunday, sitting side by side on the couch, illuminated by the glow of the television. What initially looked like a monster was a collision of trauma and isolation. The most dangerous threats don't look like monsters. They look like a romantic opportunity. A man spends a night with a beautiful woman he met at a bar, then spends months trying to find her again through a Craigslist post. She eventually responds, and they meet for a second date. At the end of the night, he follows her to her car, expecting a continuation of their previous encounter. As he leans in, he sees the reflection of a masked man with a gun in the back seat. He looks at the woman who had been his missed connection, but her expression is now entirely vacant and cold. He throws his wallet into the back seat to buy a second of hesitation and lunges out of the car, escaping into the street. This chart shows the woman's history as a career con artist. The detective on the case confirmed that of the 5 men she had lured into that car over 6 months, the first 3 were killed. This man was the only target to survive. These threats bypass our instincts by looking exactly like the things we desire most. In each of these stories, the victims initially leaned on fiction to explain the friction they felt in their environment. This diagram contrasts the nature of these 2 fears. A supernatural haunting follows a script, a specific room, a specific noise, a specific history. Human chaos follows no pattern. A person can be a landlord, neighbor, or predator, standing right in front of you. We default to the supernatural, because it offers a narrative structure to fit an erratic, dangerous reality into a manageable story. The next time you hear a noise in the dark, remember that ghosts have rules. People do not. Pray it's just a ghost.